Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me once again. My guest today, well, first and foremost, he's a thoroughly nice guy. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times, and he's a great guy. 46 Test matches for Australia, taking 180 wickets, 79 ODIs, 88 wickets. He's a former captain and coach of New South Wales. He's a former Pakistan head coach, and these days he's a renowned commentator and writer. Delighted to have Geoff Lawson as my guest. Geoff, pleasure to see you again.
And you too, mate. Yeah, lovely to talk to you.
Geoff, I think let's start with your Urdu. I know you've messaged me a few times in Urdu. How's that? Do you still remember much of it from your time in Pakistan?
Well, yeah, when you don't use it on a daily basis, it slips away. So my Torah Urdu is becoming very, very minimal. I get to use it a little bit to one of the local restaurants, couple of Indian people around. But yeah, when you're not speaking it all the time, it gets a little bit hazy. I had a couple of weeks back in Pakistan back in August. Went back to the NCA, did some coaching. It was great to be around that staff and try to brush up on my Urdu. But yeah, it's very rusty at the moment.
So you were back in Pakistan early this year then, Geoff. How did that go? Did it bring back some happy and unhappy memories?
Oh no, it was terrific. There was a number of overseas coaches came into the NCA in Lahore, and we help out with some of their elite squads, under 15s, under 19s. So it was an excellent time. I was back living in the NCA, not the same room I had when I was there, but just around the corner. Not much had changed. The NCA campus was still very good. The cafe across the road was still there. Gaddafi Stadium was looking very good, actually, but mind you, it was in the middle of monsoon, so they're having a bit of rain at the same time. But no, look, it was terrific to be back in Lahore for a couple of weeks.
Bring back some happy memories, did it, Geoff?
Oh yeah, plenty. Yeah. I really enjoyed being back, and went down the Mall Road, visited a few restaurants. Went to Allen Road, which is where I used to go for dinner a lot. Visited some friends out. It was a very pleasant time.
Coming on to the series, obviously Pakistan are touring Australia at the moment, Geoff, which is always a nervous time for us Pakistani cricket followers. A tour of Australia, those dreaded words, touring Australia for a Pakistan team. It's a tough start for them. They've just recently been, well, thrashed, haven't they? So, I mean, what did you make of the first Test match? Any plus points for Pakistan to start off with?
Yeah, look, first of all, touring Australia is tough for everybody. It's not just Pakistan. Australia have a good record at home because they know the conditions so well, and the pitches are basically much harder and bounce a lot. And they're playing at the new Perth Stadium, which is just across the river from the WACA, but it's the same soil in the pitches. So there's not much difference in the way a WACA pitch to a Perth Stadium pitch plays. And, for those who watched, I mean, there's lots of carry through head high, and the bowlers generally love to be there as long as they bowl the right leg. So, look, it's a tough assignment for anybody, not Pakistan. And to play the first Test at Perth Stadium was always going to be a huge challenge. And probably after the first innings, they were probably a little content. I mean, they got off to a bad start bowling that first half an hour. A great time to bowl in those conditions, and they just didn't get it right. Shaheen Afridi, their number one, just couldn't land. 14 runs off the first over. It was just completely the wrong start you want against Australia. Khurram Shahzad bowled okay, but once Australia got away, it changed the game, and then Pakistan bowled reasonably well. Unfortunately, Saj, they dropped some catches, and it cost you. So they had their opportunities in the first innings at Perth. They had to bowl Australia out for 300. They were in the game, and then when they batted, they showed a lot of resilience. Great opening partnership. Abdullah Shafiq and Iman Al-Haq did a really good job against a quality fast bowling outfit, and then they lost a few wickets in the middle. Unfortunately, Babar Azam sort of missed out in both innings, but they got the 270, so it showed a lot of fight, to be honest, to make that score. And then they bowled really well at the start of the second innings. Australia were 2 for not many, and could hardly score because Pakistan bowled exceptionally well. But Australia had a head start and ended up setting that big total. And yeah, it was pretty disappointing, even after not a bad start in the second innings. 2 for 50 odd that they end up capitulating. So the second innings was a very big disappointment. But the first innings, batting wise, it showed that they could actually survive and at times prosper on Australian conditions, particularly in Perth. So yeah, some good points to come out of it. But in the end, when you get beaten by over 300 runs, you're probably feeling pretty negative about it.
Just on the topic of Shaheen Shah Afridi, Geoff, he's obviously got a big reputation around the world in all formats. He's the spearhead of this bowling attack. We're used to seeing him bowling 140, 145 kph. He seemed to be struggling to hit the 130, 135 kph mark. Do you think he was bowling well within himself, or a little bit of concern about his fitness levels?
Yeah, look, I think it's the former, because when he did slow down a bit and he bowled very accurately, he was terrific. He got the ball past the bat a lot. Maybe the first innings was the adrenaline of the start of a series against Australia and bowling in Perth, where there's plenty of bounce and you get a bit carried away. And he didn't bowl that well, and then he's decided to slow down. But you're right, the speeds were around 130. 133 a lot, but he did bowl very accurately when he bowled that pace. Maybe when he's fully confident, he can bowl 140 and that accuracy. But I'm going to go for it. He just slowed down a bit to make sure he got it accurately, and to a large degree that worked, particularly later on in the first innings and the second innings. So it didn't appear to have any injuries. Sometimes you can see a player limp around a bit, or the run up's not properly. Not running in properly, not hard enough. So I'm going for the latter. I'm going for the fact that he maybe just took the pace down to be a little bit more accurate.
To have two debutant pacers in Test cricket was a gamble, but both did okay, didn't they? I mean, Aamer, Jamal, and Khurram, Shahzad. What did you make of them?
Oh yeah, look. Well, Jamal, 6 for on debut. That's just fantastic stuff. Especially when you're playing away from home. Interesting that Pakistan would debut 2 in one Test match. I mean, any country who say debuts 2 batsmen or 2 bowlers are taking a bit of a risk, because Test cricket is a lot about having the experience to deal with the game. And these two, were, as we know, they were rookies, but they bowled okay. Shahzad, it would have been great for him if Afridi had a bowl brilliantly at one end, and there was not a lot of pressure on him at the other end with the new ball in that first innings, but it didn't happen. And unfortunately, the pressure came on him to be the lead bowler almost in that first opening spell. But no, they both did pretty well. Once they settle into the rhythm of the game, they bowled pretty accurately. I think they bowled with some confidence, and they're bowling to some good players. I mean, David Warner was pretty much in peak form, and when you bowl to players of that quality, you don't get away with bad deliveries. You bowl to lesser players, you can get away with a half volley that doesn't get hit through the covers, or a long hop that gets missed time somewhere, but not when you're bowling to Warner. And even Marsh was in pretty good form too. They're quite belligerent players. They look to attack all the time, so they don't give you any leeway whatsoever, and that's one of the big differences in Test cricket. But I think in a qualified manner, you'd be happy with Shahzad and Jamal's opening, particularly as it was in interesting conditions, because if you're coming off bowling at Gaddafi Stadium and you go to Perth Stadium, it's a bit of a different kettle of fish, the lengths and the lines you got to bowl.
Expectations going into the series, Geoff, even with the most diehard Pakistani cricket lovers, will have been low, especially given the record. Going into the series, lost the last 14 Test matches in Australia. But I think what will have hurt Pakistani cricket fans is the manner of defeat, the way they just folded in that second innings. That's going to hurt them going forward, isn't it?
It is. And much, as I said, the first innings, they showed a lot of fight and a lot of application, particularly from the top order, and Australia had to dig them out. And on the other end, Australia have got a great attack. Star Cummins Hazelwood are as good as 3 as Australia's ever produced. And then they've got a guy who got 500 Test wickets as their off spinner. and Pakistan, have got Salman Agha as their lead spinner. I mean, what's going on there? I mean, you pick a left-arm orthodox against Australia because they don't play it very well. You don't pick an off-spinner and play him in Perth. I mean, that was a technical error. And I know there was an injury to the other spinner, so that didn't help. But you don't go for an off-spinner against the Australians. So, yeah, first innings they would have been feeling satisfied or certainly not overwhelmed. But that second innings, when you get knocked over so quickly, that can be quite depressing. But having said that, that Australian attack can do that to a lot of teams, particularly as that Perth pitch was still seaming a bit. The bounce was a little bit uneven. Most of it's quick bounce, but uneven, and then a bit of seam. And that's tough conditions to play against a quality fast bowling attack. So you got to take that into consideration. But, I think Mohammad Hafeez has got a little bit of work to do, just getting his batsmen psychologically back on track after getting knocked over so quickly yesterday.
Just on the topic of Mohammad Hafeez, Geoff, are you surprised that he's been given the responsibility of that director of cricket role, given that he's got very little coaching experience and up until recently he was a player?
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know about how much Hafeez has been doing in the coaching space back in Pakistan. I did have a chat with him last week. We discussed a few things about how things were happening in Australia, and so he's a very curious guy. He wants to get as much information as he can. Given what you had, Mickey Arthur, Grant Bradburn, you had one guy who's coached Australia and played, seen a lot of play in Australia, and Bradburn from across the ditch in New Zealand, maybe a bit more familiar with local conditions. Perhaps they should have been on the staff there somewhere to help out. But once again, Saj, when it comes to Pakistan cricket and appointments, you never know what's going to happen. But, look, Hafeez is an experienced cricketer. He's played a lot and done very well. And, of course, we know his nickname is the Professor, and that's because he always wants to know about cricket. He's got a great inquiring mind for the game. But that's all a bit different than being a head coach on a tour of Australia. That requires a bit more experience. Look, I guess he's getting it on the job, isn't he? He's learning the hard way.
Geoff, imagine you were still the head coach of Pakistan. You're in that dressing room at the moment. The boys have just been smashed to all parts by Australia. How do you lift that team? What do you say to them? Yeah, the MCG next and then Sydney. Conditions might be a little bit easier for Pakistan. They might have acclimatized a little bit more. But what do you say to the boys in this situation?
Oh, well, you'd certainly be taking the positives, as we've discussed, the work in the first innings, the fact that the bowlers were able to get out the top order of Australia. So I just want to accentuate the positives. Also, the conditions will be important because, Melbourne will be probably a pretty good batting weekend, a lot less bounce, and Sydney the same. So the conditions will suit Pakistan much better in Melbourne and Sydney, or will suit their batsmen in any case. So I'll be talking about that. I'd say, look, you've got through the hardest test. The hardest test now is over. Perth, playing in Perth against that quality attack. So that it doesn't get any harder than that, I don't think, in world cricket, except maybe playing, 4 Indian spinners at Pune or somewhere. But playing that quality attack at Perth, it does not get any harder. What did we learn from it? Well, there was some good resistance by the batting at times. The top order, nearly everyone got to occupy the crease, even if, what did Babar get? 21 and 14. Just need him to go on with it a bit. The openers look pretty good. Shan Masood looked pretty good. He got himself out in the first innings. And he's coming off that 200 in the tour game at Canberra. So, yeah, look, emphasise the positive, learn from the negative, and so that we can do it better in Melbourne.
Tweak the starting 11 a little bit, perhaps maybe bring in Rizwan, as many have pointed out.
Yeah, that's, Sarfaraz, it's hard. Let's judge his keeping. I mean, his keeping was pretty good, but when you keep at Perth, there's always carry there, so it's one of the easier places to keep. But his keeping was fine. I'm not going to criticise that, but obviously he missed out twice with the bat, and he got knocked over by some decent bowling. But you have to think about Rizwan if you're happy with his keeping standard. That he's an aggressive bat. lot of experience in international cricket, so I think he will come into that discussion to play the next test.
And can you see Pakistan getting back into this series, Geoff? I mean, well, I've already pointed out that they've lost their last 15 tests in Australia. Even a draw would be a success, sort of, in this series. Can you see Pakistan doing anything in Melbourne and Sydney?
Well, I think, Pakistan have got to believe they can. It's no good having a losing mindset. You've got to believe that if you do the little things, all the little things a bit better, that you can be in the game. And as we said, Melbourne won't be a bouncing seaming pitch, I wouldn't have thought. It'll be a pretty good test match, dry wicket. It'd be lovely to have a slightly better spin bowling attack and put some pressure on Australia that way. Shahzad and Jamal are now a test into their careers, and they've done pretty well. Hopefully Afridi is fully fit and bowls as well. His best bowling in Perth was very good. It's just that his worst bowling wasn't very good at all, but his best bowling was excellent. So if they can bowl together as a group, bowl well together, you've got to be happy with that. And then just a bit more resilience in the batting. But to see, Shan Masood, Imam al-Haq and Abdullah Shafiq do really well up top was a very good sign. So, yeah, going to Melbourne, you got to believe that you can. There's nothing wrong with playing for a draw. To play for a win, a draw will be a terrific result there. And look, I think the Australian crowds want to see Pakistan fight as well. The bubble around the first innings to my friends, Pakistan did really well in the first innings. Maybe they're a bit unlucky though. Maybe they should have got 350. If they could catch it, if they took all their catches early and then batted well, the first innings might have been about even. So that was the feel from Australian fans that this Pakistan side is capable of doing better.
And finally, Geoff, coming back to yourself, any plans on going back to Lahore, back to Pakistan, working for the Pakistan Cricket Board, maybe even head coach once again?
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Don't think I've done a thing. Don't think Hafeez. Oh, look! On the head coach position, I'd love to see Hafeez do really well. I'd love to see him learn a lot out of this tour, no matter what the result is. If he can pick up some more skills as a head coach, look terrific. Because he's sort of the kind of guy I think you'd like to have as a head coach. He's got a really good approach to players. He has good relationships with players. Because head coaching is not just about understanding the details of the game, particularly Test cricket, but it's about the relationships you have with players and getting the best out of them. And I think Hafeez has the ability to do that. So I'd like to see him get a good run at it. So yeah, look, I won't be. I'd be really happy to support him in some way. That'd be lovely. But I certainly won't be looking for the head coach's job. It was terrific to be invited back to that elite player coaching scheme when they do invite a lot of overseas coaches. It came as a bit of a surprise, but I really enjoyed it, and hopefully made a bit of a contribution to some of their younger bowlers. Some terrific under-19 fast bowlers. And I haven't got the notes in front of me, but a couple of guys who were about 6'7", one a left-hander and one a right-hander, and they were as good as I've seen anywhere in the world. And they just played in the under-19 competition, so it'd be wonderful to see them out there. So I know there's a lot of talent there. So it was a pleasure to be back working in Lahore, and if I get invited again, I'll be over there in a heartbeat. So I really enjoyed my time being back on the old stomping ground at the NCA.
Yeah, I think the 6'8" guy that you're referring to, the under-19 right arm pace bowler, is a guy called Mohammad Zeeshan, who Pakistan,
Zeeshan.
Pakistan have very high hopes of. He's recently did really well in the under-19 Asia Cup as well.
Yeah, really nice kid. Really very respectful. Listen and learn. In the couple of weeks we had there, I thought he progressed just in that short time. So he's a quick learner, and when you're that tall, he bowled outswingers from that height, which was unbelievable. He had the guys in the nets looking a little bit worried when they faced him. So he was good.
Well, Geoff, always a pleasure speaking to you. Let's hope that the 28 years of pain that Pakistan have had touring Australia, playing Test cricket there, comes to an end, hopefully, in this series. But I know you've still got that passion for Pakistan cricket and that respect and love for Pakistan cricket, which is great to see.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to the next test. I'm looking forward to Pakistan playing well and improving. And I think all the fans of Pakistan cricket, and we know there are many, many millions of them. They want the same, but you have a bit of faith, and let's see if Mohammad Hafeez can lift his troops and get them to play a bit better down in Melbourne.
As we say in Pakistan, Geoff, inshallah.
Inshallah, yeah. Inshallah, plus a lot of hard work and dedication. You gotta add that, mate.
Thanks very much, Geoff. All the best. Take care.
Cheers.